get even for you, Cindy. I promise I'll get even.
What attracts us to bad movies? For some, maybe all in one way or another, it may simply be the desire to laugh at rank ineptitude or weirdness, normally sanded out by the professionalism of larger budget cinema. These odd little curios full of choices bad or bold, hampered by a lack of budget, vision or competence, crumbling artifacts of misjudged ambition. You can learn a lot from bad movies. Not just perfect lessons in how not to make films, rife as they are with mistakes that should be avoided at all cost, lest your own work should find itself the subject of mockery, but also in the ways ingrained cinematic tropes are reflected by outsiders, in many ways holding a better mirror up to Hollywood than much analysis or satire, without even intending to. I love the idea of bad movies as warped reflections of ingrained cinematic ideas. I think it's an overlooked aspect of their fandom, but the one we're talking about today isn't really that kind of bad movie at all. My bad movie kink has always been the vanity project. And again, I think it's because we see that which we maybe aren't supposed to. Hubris glazed windows into the dreams, desires and insecurities of their makers. Perhaps the most famous example is Tommy Wiseau's The Room, a colossally inept melodrama with nary an idea of how cinema is supposed to function on even a basic level. But one thing we can all agree on coming away from that train wreck is that Tommy Wiseau sees himself as a fundamentally great dude that everyone loves, and that someone hurt him so deeply that he considered ending it all. But instead of a gun, he took his revenge on the world by picking up a camera. Similarly, the films of another bad movie favourite, Neil Breen, well, before he bought a drone, a fake beard and became somewhat self-aware, reveal boomer fantasies of global conspiracies that only he can see through, casting himself as Spy Jesus, Book Jesus or Space Jesus, here to save those he deems worthy and damn those he doesn't. Choices that only he has the insight necessary to judge. His films the power trips where he can make them manifest.
It will scare you. But you should be scared, because it is the truth.
My favourite bad movie isn't anywhere near that deep. A vanity project by a fairly normal guy, all told about as average as a guy could be, but who nonetheless decided to realise his dreams through the medium of just making a movie where he got to do every single one of them. Unlike Wiseau or Breen, it doesn't feel like realtor, building contractor and licensed attorney John De Hart saw this as a project that would catapult him to stardom, with a vibe that's more, hell, let's just make a movie, how hard can it be? And so we were delivered Champagne and Bullets, or Road to Revenge, or GetEven, better known as GetEven by hardcore fans due to poorly punctuated titling. Oddly, while these are all different names for the same film, they are all actually different edits. Champagne and Bullets, the original cut that was never officially released, but which headlines the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray release of the film. Road to Revenge, a shorter edit released on VHS in the early 90s, with GetEven being a slightly more professional version released on DVDs sold through Dehart's website in the mid-2000s. Rather than being a glorious setting the world to rights or platform to espouse a weird worldview, this is a kinda make-a-wish vanity project, as John De Hart sets about realizing every action hero fantasy he has ever had through the medium of film. He shows his prestige on the heavy bag, has fistfights, speaks truth to authority.
Here's a quarter. Buy yourself a personality.
Fails to understand how Polaroid pictures work.
Looks just like us.
Marries a Playboy playmate. You know, for the cooking.
How about I make you a nice home-cooked meal tonight?
Shows off his electric dance moves. Recites a soliloquy from Hamlet.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
Shoots arrows, shoots guns, kills the bad guy, and sings the theme tune to an adoring audience who just can't get enough.
Come on, pretty baby, let's do the shimmy slide.
That song is the legendary Shimmy Slide, arguably the greatest song ever recorded. Well, I'd argue it, and I will fight you. And although it was not written by De Hart, he does in fact sing it himself, which makes it extra weird that he doesn't know the words he's miming.
It's time to go home, you're gonna jump in your car.
But don't worry, as he did write or co-write the numerous other songs he lends his velvet vocals to.
Starting over, did you already said your goodbyes? When the world feels like it's caving in on us, I'll be with you when you want me.
where a viewer could easily be tearing their hair out at the delusion of a Wiseau or Breen. It's really hard to hate John De Hart. He just seems like a nice guy living out his dreams, somewhat cowed by the experience, and the rest of the cast genuinely seem to be having fun in their interactions with him, which is actually a really charming vibe for this type of movie. The plot is delightfully fever dreamish, a vehicle for De Hart to tick off all the items on his wish list, maneuvering with the subtlety and grace of a bumper car. After a drug bust goes awry,
What's your problem, Normad? You almost got Huck killed.
Rick Bodie and his best friend Huck Finney get drummed out of the police force on trumped-up charges by the crooked Commander Normad, played by Conan the Barbarian's William Smith, having tons of fun.
What I would call a panderer's vehicle.
So they both become limo drivers,
This is Rick. He was on the police force for 7 years and now he drives a limousine.
while Huck seemingly succumbs to full-blown alcoholism. Rick sets about winning back his ex, the late Playboy playmate Pamela Bryant, who has recently escaped from a satanic Hollywood cult, which sacrifices human babies, and who are also led by the increasingly monstrous Normad, a man of many hats, all of them evil. They go to a bar where Rick sings the shimmy slide,
Let's do it again!
during which the Satanists turn up, although they look more like the worst Red Hot Chili Peppers cover band, and they have a good old-fashioned dust-up. Huck then gets arrested for spousal abuse, and I don't know if this attempt to defuse the situation was actually in the script, but it's perfect.
Listen, I used to be a cop, all right? And I'm not going anywhere with you pigs.
We then find out that Normad was not only sleeping with Huck's wife, but he's also a drug runner now, 'cause why not? Huck finds himself in court in front of Normad. He's a judge now, and even he seems a bit confused by that, who sends Huck to prison where he drinks bleach. Then he gets better, which gives us a chance to witness John De Hart's peerless bedside manner.
I'm going to be fine.
I heard you did that bleach thing.
Rick and Cindy get married, and Rick discovers Normad is behind everything.
What? Really?
After a tense, low-speed chase, Cindy dies. Always wear a helmet, kids. And Rick sets out to get even, or on his road to revenge, or to champagne his bullets. Rick raids Normad's compound in an action-fueled extravaganza of a finale, and let no man say that John De Hart doesn't know how to make an entrance.
It's me again.
Finally getting his revenge, or even, by offing the dastardly Normad and burning the whole place down. And that is where the Road to Revenge version ends, with him mourning his dead wife in this dashing double denim stars and stripes number, which is a real bummer. But at least he's still got America. Luckily, in both Champagne and Bullets and GetEven, Rick is approached by a nun who takes him to a hospital where he finds that having bandages wrapped tightly enough around your head apparently cures death. The reunited lovers awkwardly kiss, cue Shimmy Slide Reprise number 76 as the credits roll. Before we go any further, if you haven't seen this film in any of its forms and wish to seek it out, which version should you plump for? I feel like Champagne and Bullets is going to become the default answer, as it is the highest quality print, as well as having an extended version of the famous Hamlet soliloquy. And if you haven't seen the film, see if you can guess which of the plot points I just described segue directly into that cheese-pull-worthy slice of cinematic margarita.
'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished.
Did you guess?
They sacrificed a human baby.
Anyway, that is a delight, as is that it has more of the acting in general, although that is maybe more something for fans to wallow in, while first-time viewers may want the skimpier dip in that shallow pool that GetEven offers. With that version a brisker, slightly more fun experience in general. GetEven also has establishing exterior shots. It stops halfway through to have Rick actually explain the plot, and there isn't music blaring at a distractingly loud volume over every single scene. Just most. Champagne and Bullets, meanwhile, has extended scenes of sexual violence against women that make the film much seedier than it needs to be, and unlike GetEven, has neither a clearly decade-older De Hart doing martial arts in front of a Las Vegas vista, nor his dog standing on its hind legs eating ice cream.
Good girl, little martial artist. Good baby.
Pure cinema. What I've described already alone puts this film, whatever its title, into the heady pantheon of must-watch bad movies. And if that is something that tickles your fancy, this hits all of the sweet spots and should be sought out with a great deal of urgency. Alongside its nonsensical plot, it has bad acting.
If you keep living like the gutter snipe you've turned into, you're going to be found dead on the side of the road someday.
De Hart is seemingly unable to pass a camera without looking straight down the barrel.
No, it's water. Yeah, sure. Fish is swimming. Now the beer, buddy. Beer, buddy? Beer, buddy.
I'll be with you when you're...
It has sound effects that could have been lifted directly from an 80s NES beat-em-up. Scintillating dialogue that leaves you wondering where this could go next.
You have no idea.
I have some idea.
No, I don't think you do.
Maybe I don't.
Continuity errors.
Hi.
Hello, Rick.
Handing props to the prop master. Slick and professional camera work. And wardrobe choices for the ages modelled by this absolute stud muffin. But like many So Bad It's Good movies of this era, it has a little magic source, in the shape of the actor far too good to be anywhere near this tripe who is nonetheless slumming it in the bad movie ghetto. There are actually quite a few ways that can go, from someone who feels that the material is so far beneath them they either sleepwalk through the whole affair, delivering line recitals that are akin to a bored parent reading aloud their child's Roblox fanfic.
As strange and amusing as this might appear, keep in mind that every murder you see on this film is real.
To performances so bad it feels like they are intentionally trying to tank the scene, or even the whole movie, in the hope that a pre-release screening for studio bigwigs will end with them burying the film canisters in a crate alongside the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh man! Oh God! Oh man!
But they're at their most fun when these faded stars or talented could-have-beens decide that the empty space of a poorly conceived film is not an imposition, but an opportunity to be met with egregious hammery or wild improv. Enter Wings Hauser. Born Gerald, and it's easy to see why he went for the more exotic Wings, exploding into the cinematic consciousness with a dazzling performance as psychotic southern pimp Ramrod in 1982's unpleasant and uneven slice of cheddar sleaze, Vice Squad. Wings' intense turn is not only the sole reason to watch this convoluted mess of a film, but he also belted out the absolute banger of a theme tune.
Bang, bang, shoot 'em up, talking about crime!
A man of many talents, which included directing 4 feature films. 1, Skin Gang, starring his son, Cole, and he even wrote a star vehicle for himself, 1987's No Safe Haven, as a beer-guzzling, low-rent all-American James Bond, the less memorably monikered Cleets Harris, which was not quite as much silly fun as perhaps it could have been, as well as being responsible for rewrites on Beastmaster 2, although that may have just reflected the sheer amount of improv he was clearly doing.
He who defies Arklon shall be destroyed by Arklon!
The modest success of Vice Squad saw Hauser parachuted into leading man roles in a myriad of 80s B-movies, although the watchword was maybe not variety, as there are more VHS covers of Wings holding a gun than lines of coke snorted in that decade. Here's some more. Last one, I promise. I lied! A stalwart across dozens of cheap actioners as a tough cop, a tough ex-cop, a tough army type, a tough former army type, or a guy whose brother's name is apparently Mike?
Now, Mike. Come on, Mike. Mike. No, Mike. Mike! Mike, come on. What are you doing? Let's get out of here. Mike, you okay? Mike. Mike, you shut your mouth, Mike. Mike! Come on, Mike. Knock it off. Let's go, Mike. Mike? Mike, I'm Josh. And this is my brother, Mike.
Mike, I don't care. Mike.
Go, Mike. Get out! Mike! It's Mike! 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 Has Mike showed up?
No.
Wings also snagged smaller roles in more prestigious projects, like Norman Jewison's adaptation of Charles Fuller's A Soldier's Story, Richard Pryor's semi-autobiographical JoJo Dancer, or projects that promised to be prestigious but ended up ludicrous dumpster fires, like Norman Mailer's hilariously misjudged Tough Guys Don't Dance.
I need you to come 16 times in a night.
Not one of them was good.
As the 80s ticked into the 90s, Hauser had settled into a prolific career of his usual action fare, alongside erotic thrillers and the occasional low-budget horror, or sometimes even films that were both at once.
And Wings Hauser, star of Beastmaster 2 and Bedroom Eyes 2, in the supernatural erotic thriller Mind, Body, and Soul.
Oh my God.
With a few televisual guest appearances sprinkled in, family-friendly fare like Murder, She Wrote, Walker, Texas Ranger, or Roseanne.
You drive real good.
as well as a small appearance as a sleazy lawyer who gets memorably slapped down by Bruce McGill in Michael Mann's The Insider in 1999.
Wipe that smirk off your face!
With his final role being as the most belligerent audience member in Quentin Dupieux's fantastic killer tire satire, Rubber.
You get a bazooka, or even better. No, listen. Even better, you get one of your guys with a flamethrower, huh? Just whoa.
This may not sound like a career worth eulogizing, and maybe on paper it wasn't. Largely made up of the type of trashy B-movie that can be found nowadays lurking in the darkest depths of Amazon Prime. But Wings was one of those performers who consistently elevated whatever he was in, and seeing his name in the opening credits meant that I would still be in my seat for the closing credits come what may. He was an actor who always committed to his roles, regardless of size or budget, attacking them with a rare intensity, at a minimum interesting in leading roles even if carrying a film often meant dialing his performance down. He still imbued his characters with vintage Hauser tics and quirks. The beaten-down piano-noodling loose cannon of Deadly Force, the protective but hot-headed and jockish older brother of Mutant, or bringing a zen resignation to a role as a doomed Snake Plissken clone alongside fellow genre-transcendent standouts, Jeffrey Combs and Brian James in Dead Man Walking, an ultra-cheap, straight-to-video Escape from New York ripoff saved from abject mediocrity by the commitment of its cast.
Have you got a shovel?
But he truly shone in smaller and more antagonistic roles, at his best when the weight of carrying a film wasn't solely on his shoulders, allowing the freedom for bold scenery-chewing choices. Witness his psychopathic handyman stalking Meg Foster in The Wind.
But no, they fought me at every turn, every corner, up one aisle and down the next.
The G-shucks homespun charm of his murderous ghostly craftsman in wackadoo romantic horror, maybe comedy? I don't really know what it was going for if I'm honest. The Carpenter.
People are lazy, people are soft, people are scared of work. I mean, take a look at this guy. Watch this, see? See what I mean? Soft.
And as the wonderfully monikered Van Vandermeer, a sleazy director who turns vampire hunter, chasing altruistic creature of the night Michael Fury, a somewhat less enthused performance from West Side Story's George Shakiris.
How's the video going?
It's going.
In town attempting to solve a series of killings staged to look like vampire attacks. In the straight-to-video Pale Blood, a film which straddles a line between utter nonsense and being much better than it has any right to be, with a very cool soundtrack from punk band Agent Orange thrown into its pleasingly odd mix.
Oh, Jesus, Van, you got yourself a vampire.
You hired Wings for his intensity and he very rarely let you down. When a film was rote or by the numbers, he would often go off script, or look to highlight atypical aspects of his characters, making him a perennially fun screen presence that remained afloat amid many a sea of mediocrity, something which earned him a small cult following, and I think it should be obvious by now that I was rushing to be first at the Kool-Aid. I'd say this is never more true than in GetEven, a film that is barely a film, with a slight and incoherent plot, the type of work that some performers may see as an easy paycheck, but Wings saw as a blank canvas on which to paint a masterpiece.
Number one, you never say Alex again. Number two, I've forgotten.
And I firmly believe that this is Wings Hauser's masterpiece. A rabid bull smashing through a china shop of ego. A bulldozer levelling any idea of self-seriousness. A performance that is at once absolutely committed, but also treating the confines of the film as a playground. Not stopping until he's made the swing go all the way round or break the whole thing trying.
Take off your clothes, leave your clothes on, get in the pool, man. Look, this is what's happening.
I don't know this for a fact, believe it or not, there isn't a great deal of behind-the-scenes info from the shoot, but Wings is clearly improvising for the entire film. No one else has any idea what he is doing, they just have to somehow keep up, often while trying desperately to end a scene spiraling wildly out of control in the hands of a total madman. And it is absolutely fantastic.
You're not going to be a pussy here, all right? You're going to stick it. Look at me. You are sticking it out with me.
So I've been unkind about this performance, implying that Wings has gone full method as the deranged alcoholic Huck.
Let's blame it on alcohol. Okay, yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I choose to believe that he is just having an absolute blast, a force of nature wreaking havoc over the whole production, a one-man natural disaster that you either ride or get out of the way of. Because, despite appearances, this isn't a confused drunk slurring his words, barely able to remember the script. This is the script getting thrown completely out of the window in favor of utterly crackers nonsense delivered with borderline psychotic conviction.
I'm talking Huckleberry Finn. Really?
Even when he doesn't have a speaking part in the scene, he's doing this stuff in the background, and a lot of that is probably just no one could say no to him. He's a one-man pin pricking the pomposity of the concept, and Champagne and Bullets or GetEven or Road to Revenge is so much better for it. I love this film, and I love Wings Hauser in this film, and I'm making this video because on March 15th, 2025, Wings sadly passed away after years of ill health, and this is how I want to remember him, gloriously running roughshod over a misjudged vanity project. So, a toast to Wings Hauser, a glass of champagne, and a bullet. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you listening to this, as it means you made it all the way to the end. If you have a favourite Wings Hauser movie or just want to talk about this one, feel free to comment below. All your feedback is great, and I try to reply to all the comments I get. Don't forget you can like and subscribe and all that nice stuff, or check out some of my other videos if you like this one. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.
Number 4, I think I need a ride home.